Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Wednesday, September 14, 2022. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. R. Kelly found guilty. Child pornography charges in Chicago. Will tell you charges he was acquitted of in this latest legal battle with the convicted singer. Also on today's show, we'll talk about child poverty. The recent bill passed by the Biden administration has had a positive impact on cutting child poverty, and specifically how that impacts African Americans. We will talk with economist Dr. Bill Spriggs about that. A Texas judge is catching hell from folks there. Why? What is going on in Texas with black judges? She'll join us, as well as her attorney, to break this down. Also, Tyler Perry talks about the need for black and other folks in Hollywood to have the skill set before they get bigger jobs. He takes on diversity in Hollywood, saying it's not good to appoint folks to higher positions who may not be ready for it. Some folks have taken exception to what he said. I will break that thing down. We got that and lots more to cover right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. It is time to bring the funk. Let's go.
Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's rolling Martin, yeah. Rolling with rolling now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's rolling Martin now.
All right, folks, welcome to today's show. Child poverty is a huge issue in this country. Remember when Republicans allowed the Earned Income Tax Credit to expire? That caused a significant issue in America. Well, guess what? According to the Census Bureau, the number of children living in poverty fell dramatically last year. The report was released yesterday indicating the drop is mainly due to an enhanced child tax credit passed by President Joe Biden and the Democrats in Congress. Now, compared to child poverty rates of 9.7% in 2020, only 5.2% of children were in poverty last year. Without the tax credit, the percentage of children in poverty would have only dropped to 9.2%. The overall supplemental poverty rate for 2021 was 7.8%. Dr. William Spriggs, an economist from Howard University, joins us to explain. Doc, glad to have you on the show. Yesterday, you were tweeting about this, and you were saying this is a positive development for African Americans. Explain that.
This was the biggest issue of equity. You talked about the Earned Income Tax Credit, which dates back to the 1980s. In the 1980s, before the 1980s, we used to increase the Social Security tax every year or 2 years. In 1980, we decided rather than on the fly, we would create a trust fund for Social Security. We overtaxed workers to create a huge piggy bank, the Social Security Trust Fund. That meant a big increase for workers in terms of their payroll tax, the Social Security tax. And Congress agreed to offset for low-income workers that some of that increase could be a credit against their income tax. So that's why it's called the Earned Income Tax Credit. The idea was we shouldn't tax people into poverty. But subsequent to that time, we've lowered tax rates for low-income families, and it became possible that if the Earned Income Tax Credit got increased, like it did under Bill Clinton, that you could end up using that credit and have no federal income tax credit. And this has been the big battle line with Republicans ever since, because what they resent is the idea that you have no federal income tax liability, and therefore all of the multitude of tax credits we give to families, they have fought to make sure you don't get it if you don't have a federal tax liability after you get the Earned Income Tax Credit. Because close to 35% of Black children live in poverty, a large share of Black children get the benefit in their household of an Earned Income Tax Credit, but the child tax credit that everybody else gets had been denied to Black families, many Black families, because they didn't have this positive federal tax liability. What President Biden did was two things. One, he increased the child tax credit because during the pandemic, families were stressed with, how do I take care of my kids? Daycare is closed, schools are closed, all sorts of burdens being put on families with children. And not only did he increase the tax credit, but he made it fully refundable.
But Bill, hold on, Bill, for the person, for Bill, one second. Bill, hold on, Bill. For the people who don't have children, okay, first of all, the earned income tax credit, how much money are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about a couple of $1,000s per family. If you are single, you also get the earned income tax credit. There is a tax credit for single men, for families that don't have children. You are eligible for the earned income tax credit if you're a low-wage worker.
So we're talking about
smaller if you're a man with no kids, and it's smaller for families with no kids. But the earned income tax credit is for everyone.
Okay, so we talk about this earned income tax credit. That's money you're getting back, and obviously it's up to a certain income. So the people out there who have been struggling, I mean, this is money that they're getting back, they're saving, and it's going directly for the cost of groceries and things along those lines. And the reality is Republicans have been fighting this, trying to get rid of it, which is stupid because it's a bunch of broke-ass white conservative Republicans in red states who benefit from the earned income tax credit. I mean, they would literally rather give tax breaks to rich corporations than to regular, ordinary people.
Oh, absolutely. And they defunded the Internal Revenue Service, but kept the part of the Internal Revenue Service that audited the earned income tax credit because Republicans hate it so much. The IRS is required to do lots of audits of people who get it to make sure that there's no fraud for getting a couple of $100s back for the taxes that you pay if you're low income, to prevent you from being taxed into poverty. So we have to understand the full dimension in which not only do they not like it, but they go after the people who get it, and they always fought against anyone getting any other tax credit that everybody else was getting. So understand the weirdness that the child tax credit, which everybody got who had a child, went to high-income families, but lower-income families didn't get the child tax credit until President Biden said, no, this is for every American child. And suddenly, Black families got the child tax credit. Not only did they get it, but rather than get it in one lump sum, like you do the earned income tax credit when you file your taxes when they're due in April, he made sure that they got it on time so they could anticipate and use it. So this was a credit that you got every month. And this helps you with all of the uncertainties that happen. You know, your child fell down, you got to go take them to the doctor. You find out they need braces. They get sick and you have to stay home 3 days from work because they're sick and there's no child care. That money was the contingency money to help families out. And finally, Black families got it.
Well, again, thank goodness we had folks who actually cared about those children and who made this happen. Again, it was Republicans who allowed it to expire, did not want to provide these tax credits, and so now we actually have them. Bill, thanks for breaking it down for us.
Yeah, well, I don't want to leave without the really good news. That meant that the Black child poverty level, with what the government finally did to help Black children, fell to 7.5%. We haven't seen a Black child poverty level of 7.5% ever.
Wow. Well, that is a good thing. And then for the people who out there who says Biden has done nothing for Black people, here's some evidence. Bill Spriggs, thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's bring my panel right now. Joining me is Dr. Larry J. Walker, Assistant Professor, University of Central Florida. Also joining us is Kelly Bethea, Communications Strategist. We'll be joined later by Robert Patillo, Executive Director, Rainbow Push Coalition, Peachtree Street Project. Glad to have both of y'all with us. I mean, here's the thing, Kelly, that is just amazing to me. I listen to these Republicans. They talk about how they are the party of the working class and they care about the workers and the people. No, they don't. I mean, I don't know how in the hell you can be against the earned income tax credit but then you are perfectly fine with people who own planes and yachts getting tax breaks during COVID?
Well, the issue isn't that they have a problem with the tax credit itself. It appears that they have a problem with the tax credit if they can't control who exactly it goes to. It appears that every single time Black people benefit from anything in this country, Republicans have something to say about it. So it's not necessarily the tax credit that they have an issue with, it's the fact that Black people benefit from the tax credit. If there was a way for middle and lower class white people alone to benefit from the government, I think they would be all for it. But the minute that it trickles into other communities, minorities, BIPOC, Black people, whomever, that's when they have a problem with it. And that's when you see the pushback for things that make sense, even though it's against their own interests as a whole.
Larry?
Yeah. So, Roland, I mean, the findings from the study are really important in terms of, addressing issues relating to childhood poverty in the United States. And one of the things that I'm concerned about is we've seen a lot of the issues, we talked about health issues, economic issues exacerbated during the pandemic, that now that, this has expired, that we'll see a reverse of these numbers. And we just saw my colleague in a previous segment, talk about the drop in Black child poverty. And I'm concerned because in certain jurisdictions, you have already dealing with issues relating to housing and food insecurity, that we may see these numbers dramatically increase over the next couple of years. So it's important when we hear people from, particularly the Republican Party, talk about issues relating to everyday working Americans, that we know that this works. So why not just make it permanent to ensure that all Americans, particularly we talk about members of the Black community, have the opportunity to put food on the table, have the opportunity to take public transportation. We talk about, obviously, the issues of the last couple of months of the rising gas prices. They're dropping now. But in terms of dealing with some issues relating to paying for gas and a lot of other issues, also just simply saving money. So once again, this is really important if you talk about this conversation about caring about all Americans, that we make sure that that these kind of tax codes are permanent to ensure that all Americans are benefit from it, particularly when we talk about members of the Black community.
Indeed. Yesterday, Senator Lindsey Graham introduced a bill trying to get a national ban on abortion after 15 weeks. Now, another hot button issue. Republicans are freaking out over Senator Chuck Schumer trying to push forward a vote on a same-sex marriage bill. 47 Republicans voted for that bill in the House. It passed easily in the House because all Democrats voted for it. Now they are concerned about it coming up in the Senate. Now, of course, Senator Rob Portman of Ohio, he's saying that, go ahead and show it, come on. He's saying that, oh, this is all about political schedule here for Senator Chuck Schumer. Well, tough, Senator Portman. That's what politics is. Get to it. I mean, bottom line